Welcome back to Reliving Retro. This is Season 3, Episode 4. It's our Patreon episode.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody suggested Devil May Cry. Thank you very much. And we have a special guest on with us today, and I'll allow him to introduce himself. Go ahead, man.
Hi, Les Dewitt. I do silly little TikTok videos. I post about retro games on Instagram. So
there you go.
Yeah, I did YouTube for a brief time, but you know how that goes. 20 views. I'm like, not worth the editing still.
Yeah, I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so go check him out on TikTok. He's got some awesome TikToks on there. He has a pretty sick collection, as you can see some of that in the background there.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely on Instagram as well. So a couple of getting to know you questions, Les. What would you say your introduction to gaming was? Maybe how old were you when you got your first console? What was your first console? How'd you get it? That kind of thing.
It was actually the NES, and the very first game I ever played was Super Mario Brothers on it. The introduction was with my brother, whom did the old he would play, but then hand me the unplugged controller.
There you go.
And then
you were a younger brother then, huh?
Yeah, because he was tired of me being 3 years old and letting the timer run out on my turn. So he was like, you know what? We're both Mario. But then as I got older, I kind of figured the game out, and it was like the very first game that I ever played.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Cool, man.
So that being said, what are some of your favorite genres of games to play now?
Oh gosh, one that I always go back to, and I'm not that good at them, but it's fighting games.
Nice.
I love a lot of the Capcom fighters. Like Street Fighter 2 is still probably one of my favorite games of all time. I went to a convention, and the reason I say I'm not too good at them, I went into a tournament, and you kind of find out how good you are when you're playing other people that aren't your friends.
True story.
People who show up with the sticks, with the arcade style, deck. And I leaned into my fiance. I went, that guy's got a deck. I'm screwed. He takes this game seriously. I've played it once.
Yeah. I've been at Super Smash Bros tournaments, and I've definitely lost to a 7-year-old before, and it's fine. It happens. You know what I mean? Like, you can beat your friends, and then you can't beat the 7-year-old at the tournament, and you're just like, what is life? But you continue, and you just realize that maybe that's not a game you're ever going to go pro in, and that's fine.
Right?
I
it's kind of like when you make. Go ahead.
Nope, you.
Oh, okay. It's kind of like when you make jokes with friends, and they're like, "Oh, dude, you should be like a comedian or something," and then you go up and do an open mic night, and you bomb, where it's like, you guys think I'm funny, but that didn't work so well for me.
Yeah, that's
a whole different type of funny.
That's awful too. I always feel so bad for people that want to do that, and I'm just like, it's probably not a great idea. But even like the best comedians in the world bomb 1,000 times before they're ever anybody. So
many times.
It's kind of it's so awkward to watch, though. I don't know if you've ever seen somebody bomb at a comedy club, but it's bad.
Not live.
Cringe compilations.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I've very rarely have ever seen a heckler in real life, except that one time I went to go see Lisa Lampanelli, and the guy that came on before her, was actually really funny. But this one dude in the audience was just like, "We want Lisa!"
Oh, Jesus!
During every single joke. And then so he got flustered enough that midway through his last joke, he's like, "All right, Lisa's on." And then he walked off. And I felt so bad for him. I'm like, dude, just know that 98% of the people in here enjoyed your comedy. You know what I mean? Like, it sucks that one guy ruined your night.
Mm-hmm.
This has nothing to do with video games.
Hold on, wait. Did you ever see the heckler that got blasted in the face with a guitar?
I don't believe so.
Oh, it was very funny. You got to look it up.
I guess so.
Yeah, this
look
guy
it up
was
after
like,
the show.
Yeah, he was heckling this guy, and then he was like a musical comedian, I guess.
Yeah.
And then he came up, and he was like, "You come up here. I'm gonna." He said, "Come on," he said, "Come on, motherfucker!" And then he actually smashed him over the head, and the crowd was like, "Well, he had it coming, right, guys?" And the crowd was like, "No, man, that's fucked up." I was like, "All right, show's over," and he just walked off.
Yeah, I mean,
I read a follow-up story. He got charged.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's, I don't know. Part of me sides with the comedian on that, and part of me sides on the guy who got smashed, I guess. But fair warning. He said, if you come up here, dude, I'm going to smack you with this thing.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know.
Yeah.
He wasn't a liar. That's
being an older brother. I can certainly appreciate that, because when you're being pestered by your younger brother, you're like, dude, do it again. I'm punching you in the face, and you keep doing it. I'm going to punch you in the face. I don't know. Anyway, let's.
I can agree. As the younger brother, wholeheartedly know that.
You've been punched in the face, right?
Oh yeah.
To be fair, I'm the older brother. I've also been punched in the face by my younger brother.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it happens. You fight.
He probably felt invincible though, because he'd be like, "I'll tell mom."
I've never punched or been punched in the face by any of my brothers.
How about anybody in general? Anybody ever punched you in the face?
Not without gloves on.
Oh, dude, we might need to just line you up for some experiences after the show. You want me to punch you in the face?
No.
Okay, I won't. I don't know what we're talking about anymore. This is a Patreon episode, by the way. So if you are joined to our Patreon, thank you very much. It's $5 a month to support, and you can input your video games that you want us to play. We do 3 Patreon episodes every season, so once a month. And we pick your game. It's way quicker than just adding it to the master list and then having us pick through the hundreds of games that's on our master list. So yeah, $5 a month. You buy Yaiser or Yingling, and everybody goes home happy, I think, right?
I do.
Yeah, okay. All right. This week we played Devil May Cry for the PS2, and a little bit of background info on my experience with this game. I had it as a kid. I played it all the time. I'm pretty well versed in the Devil May Cry series. I played the first one, the second one, and the third one. Haven't played anything past that. So anything past the PS2 games I've never played before. Yaiser, you'd never played it before?
Never.
And Les, you had never played it before?
First time.
So I'm going to be very interested to see what your scores are here, especially since, Les, as we were talking before the show, you said you are pretty experienced in Bayonetta, which is sort of a Devil May Cry clone, albeit a much more polished clone, because there are some out there that are horrible. But anyway, this game is this is a good for me. Did you beat it, Yaiser?
Yeah, this is a good.
It is. It's a good.
No, I didn't beat it, but did you beat it when you had it before?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
I beat the original when I played it when I was a kid. I did not beat it this week. I probably put about 3 or so, 2.5, 3 hours into it this week, which is about my weekly average of how many hours I put into these games. And Yaiser, how long did you play it for?
I think we just looked at it. I think it was like 3.5 hours.
Yeah, you got a lot further than I did, though.
16th to be fair, I think.
Les, what about you? How long did you play it, and did you beat it?
Probably about 3 to 4 hours. Got up to like chapter 16, 18, somewhere in there.
Nice, never finished about where Yaiser is. Yeah,
that's right where I am.
Yeah, Yaiser got up to mission 16. I only got to like mission 5 or 6 or something like that. But like I said, I played this game a bunch when I was a kid. I kind of just needed a little bit of a refresher into it. Let's hop right in the story here. Yaiser, you want to kick it off? You want me to kick it off?
Yeah, you do, because you got some like notes in the
story. Well, so I didn't know how much of this game I should talk about necessarily, because Devil May Cry 3 is a prequel. So if you've played that, you know a lot more to the story than you do if you just played this one. But I guess we can talk about just this one, right? But as a whole, the Devil May Cry series has a pretty solid storyline. But essentially, you are Dante, and you work at Devil May Cry, which is a place. It's a place of business where he hunts demons, and you are the son of Sparta, and Sparta was basically a demon in the underworld, and he went against his own kind, like his own people, essentially, to help out the humans in the battle of humans versus demons.
Oh shit!
And then Sparta locked the underworld. And from, what's the bad guy's name again? I always forget it.
I wrote it down right here. Where is it?
Oh, it's Mun something.
Yeah. You see a statue at the very beginning.
What I wrote.
What Mundus? Is that, guys? Mundus. There Mundus, it is.
Yeah.
Coming in clutch with that name. Yeah. Mundus is like,
there it is.
He's the demon king, and Sparta closed the worlds between the the underworld and the human world, essentially. And so now Mundus comes back he kills Sparta's wife, which is Dante's mother, and then he's back. He's back. He's trying to get the amulets, which you have in your inventory the entire time. Those were left to you by Sparta, and he's trying to get those back to open up the underworld, essentially. So that's basically the backstory. Okay. Now, Yaiser, what was your rating?
I rated it pretty high, I think, here, because it was pretty cool and it seemed like it was very in depth. I didn't get all the way through the story, but I watched the video, and I felt like there was still some stuff left out that maybe
I didn't go fully into it, but essentially the Dark Knight that you fight, that's your brother. Sparta and his wife, who I don't know the name of, they had twins, Dante and Virgil is your brother's name. And you have to kill your brother, and you kill him again in Devil May Cry 3. Okay, because that was the first time you killed him, technically. So he comes back in the first one. Prequels are weird, man. One of my favorite prequels, actually, tangent a little bit, is Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater.
Oh, that was a prequel too?
Yeah. That's a prequel. Which is funny because that's the first Metal Gear I've ever played. And then I went back and I played Twin Snakes on the GameCube, and then I played Metal Gear Solid 2.
Oh, Three's a hell of a one to start on.
Yeah,
it's a
right?
Good one.
And honestly, the only reason why I picked it up was because I saw I had just gotten PlayStation 2 online. Like I gotten like the broadband adapter or whatever for the PS2. And I saw that it had online capability, and I just thought it was going to be like a first-person shooter or something like that. And that's because I was looking at it in Blockbuster. And so I just grabbed that to rent it because I wanted to play an online shooter. And then I plugged it in, and I put it in, and I'm just like, this isn't what I thought it was at all, but I thoroughly enjoyed the game. Anyway, back to Devil May Cry. Cool. What'd you give the story?
So I think I'm gonna give it a 4.5, dude.
Okay.
Because I like the fact that, Trish, the chick that like comes to get you in the beginning.
Yep.
She is like controlled by Mundus, or what was his name again?
Yeah, Mundus. Yep.
So she's like controlled by him, right? So she ends up like trying to kill you, but then like she also sacrifices herself.
Yeah,
but then comes back to life to like save you again, kind of at the end.
Yeah,
which is like
that whole exchange is a little confusing.
It's fucking old twisty turny and all that shit. And, I thought it was pretty awesome as far as story goes.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I gave it a 4, and I was thinking of giving it a 4.5. Also, the reason why I didn't is because I feel like a lot of the lore that makes this story so interesting you don't find out until Devil May Cry 3. So it was hard for me to like consider that in grading this, because if we were playing it on release, we wouldn't know any of that. So I gave it a 4 because I still felt like the story's pretty good. It's pretty interesting. What about you, Les?
I actually gave the story a 3.5.
Okay, not bad. You're right there.
I think the reason that mine's probably the lower rating is because I don't have the context of how all this plays later into the plot. Yeah. So what I have of Devil May Cry is just DMC 1 singularly. And I'm looking at it kind of like it's definitely like an early PS2 game where it's got an arcadey feel. Like it's trying to go more for replay and just playing better. So I feel like the story took a backseat to trying to do that arcade thing. But it's making me kind of excited to move on to the next games because I know there's so much more to it. Than the beginning and end of this game.
I wouldn't be super excited about DMC 2, just to kind of spoil it. That one's not super great, but number 3 is awesome. Number 3 is the best one.
Yeah, dreading 2, excited for 3. I know I got to get well, technically I don't have to play 2 to play 3.
No,
because 3
no,
is
you could play. You could play 3 right now and then go back to Devil May Cry and then just enjoy it more for what it is. In number 3, he's actually trying to figure out what to name his shop. So it's funny like that they went back there. Yeah. Wow. But anyway, so yeah, you said you gave it a 3.5. Was there anything else you wanted to add to the story?
No.
Okay.
It was just the fact that it was probably I just felt underwhelmed because I heard so much about the story, but then when I played the first game, I thought I was going to get a lot more of it. And it was kind of self-contained, but of course, when you're making, the first game, you're not assuming there's going to be sequels.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The story really doesn't take off until the third one. But it's so funny, like how if you've played the third one, it makes the story to number one so much better. It's weird, but yeah. I mean, I agree with where you're at, where you're like, if you're new to the series and you just play the first one, the story definitely does take a backseat to the gameplay, 100%. So we'll move on to gameplay. Yaiser, started off with gameplay.
I gave it a solid 4.
Okay.
And I say solid 4 because it could have been better. And the only thing that really I'm knocking it down for is that sometimes, like in fights or like in a hallway or whatever, and the camera just switches on you, like, and you have no control over it, and it's very
annoying
sometimes.
Yeah, it's very annoying.
Yeah, frustrating too is another word you can use.
In our last episode, Star Fox Adventures, we were talking about how at some point in the camera, you kind of wish you had free range of the camera where you could use your other joystick kind of to bring the camera around. And I don't know how many times I caught myself doing that in this game, trying to control the camera with the right stick, and you just can't. It's all fixed camera, and you get caught, especially during the spider boss fight. There were so many moments where I'm kind of backed up into a corner, and then out of nowhere the camera changes, and now I can't see the spider on the screen, but he's launching stuff at me, and I don't know where. I died to that spider a lot. That's what I'm saying.
Disorienting.
Yeah,
I think I found it the worst. Was I think the second fight with Griffin on the pirate ship.
Okay.
Oh my god, dude! Like, it was ridiculous. Like, I could hardly ever see the fucking thing, and it was very frustrating. But I thought everything else other than that, like, it controlled really smooth. I like all the different combos you can do with all the different weapons. I really thought this game was dope. If you could have just controlled your own camera, it would have been even higher.
That much better. Yeah. Les, what did you give gameplay?
It's so funny. We were just talking about the camera because I probably about an hour ago, I was talking about the game to my friend.
Yeah.
And I was saying there are so many instances where I take modern gaming for granted. And I wish I could just use that right stick to move the camera because that would add so much to the game. I don't know if they do it in 2 or 3. But I know that the whole Resident Evil fixed camera in the corner of the room type thing started to get on my nerves sometimes. Even just running down a hall, and then next thing you know, it's jarring. You stop, and then you're holding the button, and then you're walking into a wall. You're like, no, go that way now. You're like, you're holding down to walk up all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh.
It is disorienting. I will say, I don't know. I don't know if I like that better or worse. Like if you're running towards the camera and you're holding down, and then all of a sudden it switches to now the camera's facing your back, you're still holding down but running away from the camera. I don't know if that makes it better or worse, because it's very disorienting, but it'd also be way worse if as soon as it switches to that camera angle, you start running back towards the camera again. Yeah. So I think they did the best with what they could, except they could have put it in a way better camera. I don't know.
Oh yeah, it could have been. It could have been way worse than what it was. It was just. I was just in my head. I was just taking modern gaming for granted, and I was just like, I just wish I could use that right stick right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, dude. You and me both.
Yeah, for sure.
And that fight on the ghost ship, the exact problem I had is I was like, where are you? I'm just shotgunning the sky.
Launching grenades. It was just like, hopefully I'm hitting him. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's rough. What did you give gameplay? I'm sorry.
I'll give it a 4. Okay. It was still pretty fun at the very beginning. It was, I kind of felt underwhelmed because it was like, oh, is this all I can do? But then you start getting the upgrades and your fighting becomes more fluid. And then you start to realize that if you pause in between certain attacks and then hit another, hit triangle again after like a split second of waiting, it does a different kind of combo. So even though it's one button for slashing, you could go, triangle, triangle, pause for a second, and then triangle, triangle, triangle. And then it does, I think it was called chop suey or something like that.
Oh, so, yeah.
Yeah. At first, you're like, why do I have this 3/ attack? That's, especially since I was spoiled by stuff like Bayonetta, where it's like triangle and circle, and then all this rotate the stick, crazy stuff, tornado. But as you unlock more stuff, you start to do launching them in the air, bringing the sword back down, all sorts of other, fun ways to play that kind of makes it more intense and fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you guys 100%. I'm at a 4 as well, so we're 4 across the board here.
Nice.
I do think that one of the funnest games for me is to just try to invent new combos where I'm like, shooting with my shotgun, and then I come in and I stab the guy behind me, and then I jump up in the air and hit the guy behind him with a shotgun shot. And it's just like, how many different you know what I mean? Like, how many different ways can I fight these enemies and stuff? And it's pretty funny too that they have like almost like it's like Dance Dance Revolution, where up in the corner they have like kind of a word grade kind of on how your combos, how your combo is. I just thought that was kind of funny that they have that. But yeah, I think the gameplay is absolutely it's the driving force behind this game, right? Like,
for sure.
It's not really about the story, although I do think the story is pretty good. It's definitely gameplay is where it's at, and if you like hack and slashes, I don't know how you're not going to have at least a little bit of fun with this game.
Yeah.
Moving over to visuals. I guess I'll get it started off with visuals. I gave visuals a 4. I thought it looked really, really solid for a early PS2 title.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing graphically, I guess, like really blew me away, but I just think the scenery, the very gothic feel that you have playing this game, I thought the weapons looked pretty cool. I actually think the name Ebony and Ivory for your handguns, I feel like it's just pretty funny. Like, I like those names for your handguns and stuff like that. Not that really has anything to do with visuals, but it's kind of just like weapon design and stuff like that. The monsters, like the bosses, I thought looked pretty cool. As far as like the puppets or whatever, like the marionettes or whatever, you fight 1,000 of those in the first few stages. And
why are the red ones bigger dicks than the rest?
I don't know. I really don't know. You also fight like Dementors. You see those things? They have scissors.
Oh yeah, that wasn't fun sometimes.
Yeah.
Thing with the pain in the ass.
Yeah, for sure. But there were definitely some pretty interesting enemies and stuff like that. I thought the visuals overall looked pretty good in this game. What about you, Yaiser?
I'm right there with you, man. Right on 4.
4, huh? Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, all the enemy designs, they were really cool. All the boss designs, and I love the fact that you get, because most like hack and slash like these games, like you have one weapon the whole time, pretty much, So I like the fact that you get new weapons, you can upgrade your weapons, like however you want to, so you can make it, however you can make the playthrough different every time if you really wanted to.
Well, yeah, it's funny because we were talking about how you could do like some of those secret missions, right, where you had all like the bugs on the floor and stuff like that. And you were like, oh yeah, I've been going at those with my shotgun and my sword, and I'm like, oh, you need to take Ebony and Ivory out.
You gotta go back a weapon.
and go back, and it's just a higher fire rate, right? So
that makes more sense.
But yeah, so I liked a lot of that stuff too, where you can kind of go through all like the different weapons, and I like that there's like the elemental feel to like Alistair, and then you have like the fire claws and stuff like that. What's it called?
Ifrit.
Yeah. What about you, Les? What'd you think of the visuals?
They were great. I had to keep reminding myself that I was playing like a game from like 2002. Because it didn't age very well. But I'd still give it a 4, all things considered, because despite the graphical limitations, the designs, the details, the way things were laid out, the way it looked, the aesthetic was all really good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely I think you and I are on the same page there, because it's nothing about it graphically that blows me away, right? Where again, bringing back Star Fox Adventures, it was nothing about it like nothing about Star Fox Adventures scenery wise blew me away, but the graphics themselves I thought looked beautiful for a GameCube game. Whereas this was exactly the opposite. This looked like an early PS2 game, but just they did a phenomenal job with the scenery and monster design, character design, and all that other kind of stuff. So I felt like the visuals were really, really good here.
Did we just do 4 across the board again?
4 across the board again, buddy.
Nice.
All right, let's go over to sound. Yaiser?
I gave sound a 4 too.
Oh man, you just
because like the music
so many 4s, dude.
I know there's a lot of there's more 4s. I thought the music was pretty cool, and also the voice acting I thought was silly at times, but like pretty well acted. I thought. I mean,
I think it's better than most games from this era.
Yeah, like we were talking again. We'll bring up last week's Star Fox Adventures where it sounded. I think it was Frank that said it sounded like each line was just read individually, and it wasn't like
no emotion.
It didn't feel.
There's no
like
context to what they were reading.
It was just sounded like one line. This actually sounded like they were in the same room talking. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, I thought it was pretty dope, and some of the music I thought was pretty sick too.
Yeah, that's fair. Les, what about you?
I'm giving it 4.5. Because even though the voice acting was par most of the time, there were a couple cheesy situations with voice acting, but par for the course with an old PS2 game. But it's the music probably takes 3.5 of those stars added to it, because I industrial metal is like my favorite music, so it might be a little bit biased of me to give it that kind of score. But the whole time when I'm slashing stuff and I just got, that heavy beat and going in the background, it, it really pumps you up and adds to the gameplay. You're getting that heat of that moment. You feel cool, kind of like how it reminded me of Metal Gear Rising, where while you're in the middle of a fight, your brain is going, I'm a badass. I'm a badass. Look at me, I'm a badass,
I mean, it certainly helps, having that type of music when you're slashing marionettes here and then you're jumping backwards and shooting marionettes behind you, like all that kind of stuff. I 100% agree with. I'm sorry, I felt like I cut you off a little bit less. If you wanted to continue.
No, you're good.
Oh, okay.
I also loved the music in like the ambient setting, because and like when you're in the church in the beginning, just the ambience that kind of plays sets the mood for like a dark castle. And it must have been such a good track, because in the HD collection it's the menu music,
Did you play? Oh, I meant to ask you that. Did you play the HD version, or did you play the actual PS2?
Yeah, I did the HD version, but I wanted to research first before I played the HD version. I didn't want there to be differences. The only differences is the 4:3 for the cutscenes, and then 16:9 for the gameplay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But I did dabble a little bit in the PS2 copy, just to kind of, and it, in a weird way, the PS2 copy looked better. But that's because when you high def something that's old, you see all its imperfections.
It looks way worse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that makes sense actually. Yeah. No, you guys gave it some really good scores for sound, and I feel like I didn't hit 4. I was at 3.5.
That's
I do really like the music, and especially like the ambiance, like music as well. To me, there was no like single track, I guess, that stood out for me, which usually when looking at like sound and soundtracks and stuff like that, I'm like, I always think like, would I add any of these like to my video game playlist, right, that I have on like Spotify? And there wasn't anything that like immediately stuck out to me. However, Les, I 100% agree with you. The game does make you feel like a badass when you're fighting people with this industrial metal music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I landed on 3.5. Certainly not a bad score by any means, but I couldn't give it the 4, and I don't exactly know why. It just didn't feel. It didn't feel like a 4 to me, if that makes any sense.
There you go. That's why.
I'll kick off aged though, if everybody's done with sound.
Yeah.
Okay. So I felt this game aged pretty well. However, the camera thing kind of kills it for me. So I gave it a 3.5. Again, it's not a bad grade. If you consider average 2.5, it's still above, pretty well above average. As far as gameplay goes, this game doesn't feel like it aged really at all. It's still just as fun as it was when I played it back then, and it wasn't terribly hard to look at, but my God, the camera was very frustrating at times when I would really like the camera not to be frustrating. I can understand it being pretty frustrating if I'm running through a hallway and there's nothing going on, but when I'm in the middle of like a boss fight and I can't see said boss, that's pretty frustrating. So I knocked it down a little bit because of that. So I gave it a 3.5. What about you, Les?
So I would give it a 3.5 because it definitely has a lot of aged things in it. But I was originally going to give it kind of actually lower. I was going to give it like a 2.5, but the reason I reconsidered and gave it an extra star was because the arcade factor of it.
Yeah.
The fact that it's giving you small chunks to play it through in, and make the arcadey way you play kind of makes it feel more timeless. But if somebody's like over your shoulder watching it, it's definitely not gonna it's definitely gonna look really old to them.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, say, like an old Time Crisis game. The formula is always gonna work in any era.
Right. Yeah.
But visually, the sound, some of the the cutscenes, the things that you kind of cringe at a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
I just wanted to show you my light, or whatever, whatever that line was.
yeah.
Where you're just like, God, I'm glad I'm playing this alone right now.
Yeah, some of the stuff did not age real well. What about you, Yaiser?
I gave it a 4 though.
There you go.
I did.
Guys, I love this game.
I basically, when I think about aged, I base it on practically. I if you look back at all the games we've ever done, I think my gameplay and age score are probably almost the same exact score every time. So I just
basically you judge it on how hard it is to pick up and play.
Yeah, how it feels to play, and I think I had a lot of fucking fun playing this game. And I want to give a shout out to, if you guys are any of our listeners or watchers or viewers, I guess you would call them.
Watchers sounds creepy.
Yeah,
that sounds weird. Little viewers is better.
Viewers, yeah.
Okay.
If you want to play PS2 games on Android, download Aether SX2. It ran
flawlessly, huh?
Perfectly.
Better than it did on my computer.
Yeah, it was absolutely perfect. Although you're gonna need a controller because fuck touchscreen controls. But anyways, dude, I don't know. The game just felt awesome, and the only thing I could really knock it down for was, like you said, the camera angles sometimes.
Yeah.
And everything else, there's corny lines and like, I mean, that's like, it kind of adds to the
charm.
The charm of the game. That's the word I'm looking for.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a good word. But yeah, I thought it was fucking fun as shit.
It is a fun game,
yeah,
for sure. I mean, you can't doubt that. I do think it has its flaws, and I think that a lot of those are cleaned up by DMC3. But for what it is and for what it was when it came out, this game is somewhat like revolutionary. So I don't think that can really be brushed under the rug either. There is something else that I wanted to bring up, though, that I forgot to bring up in gameplay, and it's the map. And I hate the map. I think the map is one of the worst one of the worst maps in any game I've ever played.
I don't know if I ever used it.
Yeah, well, good on you, man, because it's awful.
It would have just made the game harder if you did.
For real, I was lost so much just looking at the map, and it's like it's got like this overlay. All these rooms are different colors, and I feel like that's supposed to help, but it doesn't tell you which rooms are which rooms. It doesn't really show you which rooms are adjoining where there's like doors. I mean, it kind of shows you where there's doors, but it's still kind of hard to see. And then you have to go up like levels on the map, like where you're at, and it just seemed very, very confusing. It felt like they could have done it a way different way. I mean, different type of game, but take Silent Hill, for example. Silent Hill has probably one of the best map systems I've ever used in a video game.
Oh, yeah.
And it has markings of where you've been and what, important things to go to again. Yeah. And, like there's like puzzles in this game, right? Where you have to go and you have to put the 3 things in that place. And, or even when you go, like you got to stab the sword in the like the statue or whatever. Like there's essentially what I'm saying is there's monuments in this game where like they could mark that off and kind of be like, oh, here's that thing that you were looking for, remember? And because the thing about the visuals of this game is it's all really good, and it pulls off the Gothic castle like really, really well.
Yeah.
It's just that a lot of these places kind of look similar. So you kind of can't, I mean, in that castle anyway. So I got lost a lot in there, is what I'm saying.
I don't know if I ever even looked at the map. How do you even...
You pull it up in the menu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you press start and then you hit like R1 or whatever twice, and it goes.
I don't think I ever even looked at it.
Well, like I said, good for you, man, because I needed it, and it was not there for me. There was a lot about this game that I did not remember, and I'm like, where do I go? I can't remember where I'm going. Anyway, that was a little gripe that I felt like I needed to get off my chest because that map system was pretty bad. Les, did you agree with that? I saw you nodding a little bit.
100%. Yeah, because I felt like every time I pulled up the map, I was just making it worse for myself. Like I felt like I was just adding more questions. Most of the time, the game's not like huge that you have to worry about it. Like you were citing Silent Hill, you have a whole town, so the map becomes your best friend in that.
Yep.
In this, the map I feel like was they just wanted to throw in a map so that they can display how cool the layout is or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but it would have been better.
The rooms were different colors. Yeah, the rooms were like different colors, and like when I was first trying to figure out what door to go to, there was like it was showing platforms of spots you don't even get to in forever that's above you, and you're like, oh, do I go up there? How do I get up there? And I'm climbing on this horse statue trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
so
I'm so glad I never looked at it.
Yeah, your memory will serve you better than that map ever did.
Yeah, for sure.
Is it this door? Is it this door? It's and that door. Okay.
That's probably the problem too. Is as soon as I got into like that main area, I'm just like, okay, let's look at the map. Let's see, and I'm like, oh, all this is already exposed. Like I can see everything already. Like normally in video games, it's like you don't get to see that thing on the map until you discover it.
Yeah, you gotta discover that shit.
So it's kind of tough when you see everything already and you're like, where have I been? Where haven't I been? You know what I mean? Like you just see everything, and so it's just like it's kind of overwhelming. You definitely get worse the more you look at it. I looked at it a lot. It's been a bit since I've played this game, so I'm not gonna lie. I went back to a walkthrough because I'm like, where do I go? Why do I keep getting lost? Anyway, it's also tough when you play this game. Like you sit down, you play it, you have about 30 minutes to play a little bit of it, and then you get to the spider and you die, and then you're like, okay, I got to go back to the spider, and then you finally kill the spider, and then you go on to like mission 4, and then mission 4 starts, and then the spider's chasing you again, and you got to run down that hallway, and you get out of there, and then
that was way harder the second time.
Then I'm like, now where do I go? Did you kill him in the hallway?
Yeah,
bro, I ran.
Yeah, I couldn't escape him. He would kill me before I could even get away. I had to kill him.
I had to. Yeah.
Oh no, not
because he would spam fireballs, and I would just roll, get hit with another roll.
I didn't kill him.
You could get away from him.
Yeah, I just went in devil mode and just ran faster.
Oh, smart, dude! I didn't even know how to activate devil mode until we were talking on the phone. I think you were talking about devil mode. I'm like, I don't think I even know what that is.
Yeah, I hit L1 and I just sprinted down the hallway and then got through a doorway. And then when I went back in there, he was gone. So I was like, I beat the spider guy. So
there you go.
I actually cheesed the spider because I went into devil mode and then I can't remember what the attack was called, but it's the jumping. You lock on while you're jumping and you shoot lightning.
Okay.
It's called air raid.
Yep.
Yeah, I just spammed air raid and I did it with like maybe one hit taken to my health. Yeah, because I just spammed it because I was getting mad because I died like 4 times. I lost all my yellow orbs, had to do that chapter again, and it was like, it's like screw it. I'm gonna turn around and blast him with lightning. So I just spammed that, and I was like, well, that was fucking easy. All these red orbs, and I'm like, oh, thanks.
Sometimes games like this frustrate me also when you have all these upgrades because I'm not very good at games like that, like RPGs and like the Fables of the world, right? Where you have to, you have so many upgrades available to you that, to me, I get overwhelmed and I don't know what I'm supposed to upgrade first. So normally what I end up doing is just like the most vanilla thing possible, and I just upgrade the weapon I already have. And because I'm like, is it more beneficial to me to upgrade the weapon I already have, or to get a new move, right? Or do I upgrade like the amount of time I can be in like devil mode, or do I upgrade? Do I just get more yellow orbs because I keep dying to this stupid spider? You know, like all those like I don't know whether you call, like those red spirit orbs or whatever. Those are basically like your currency, right? For like upgrading things. So I mean, you could sit there and you could farm them and upgrade pretty much everything, like right at the beginning.
As soon as
that sounds terrible, though.
Clear a room, leave it, and come back. All those dudes are gonna come right back. So you could,
you could farm
them
if you really wanted to. It doesn't really seem like the game where you should need to.
No, definitely not.
So you can just kind of run through it, and it's called hack and slash. It's not, it's kind of not.
You get a majority of your orbs through bosses anyway, so the farm would just add another 3 hours to your gameplay.
It did. Yep. No, it's rough out there though for some of us. Total scores. I was the lowest on this game at a 3.6. Les was in the middle at a 3.9, and Yaiser, who's almost never the highest on any game, 4.1. Good job, buddy.
Cool.
That's a pretty high score.
It is.
Just to compare with the other scores that we've done so far this season, it's higher than Star Fox Adventures, which isn't really a big surprise.
Yeah.
It's a little lower than Donkey Kong Country 2, but I felt like you probably enjoyed playing it more. Because you don't like platformers, really.
I'm not really.
And Suikoden 2 was not higher than Suikoden 2, but I don't think anything's going to beat that for you. You really like that game.
That game, yeah. I mean, come on.
I mean, it's a classic for sure, right?
It is, right? That's like an all-time for a lot of people.
It is. Have you ever played that game, Les?
Actually, no, I haven't played Suikoden.
No. It's usually considered like one of the best like RPGs, especially like JRPGs of all time. So I would definitely recommend
the one where you can get like a fuckload of people on your team.
Too many people.
Yeah, the answer is too many.
I've heard about it. Yeah,
I believe all the Suikodens are like that. I think this one has 108 different unlockable characters, but I think 74, 78 or something like that can actually join your party. It's a lot. It's very overwhelming.
Too many.
The game is good. It's overwhelming though.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's time in the show to randomize what game we're going to be playing next week. You ready? Oh, and full disclosure, Les, I like to vaguely describe this game to our guests to see if they can guess what it is. So,
okay,
let you know. And don't be upset if you don't get it. A lot of people don't get it.
Yeah, rarely happens.
Yeah, hardly ever. All right, we ready? It didn't seem as long that time for some reason. You felt the same way?
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah.
Anyway, all right. This is an adventure platforming game. Yaiser's favorite. Developed by, this is going to give it away a little bit, the Sonic team, published by Sega, and released in 1996 for the Sega Genesis.
Do I just say it out loud?
Yeah.
Rystar?
It is Sonic 3D Blast.
Oh.
So I'm pretty excited for this one. I've never played it before.
I don't think I've played any Sonic ever.
No Sonic ever for you? Well, you didn't have those games when you were a kid.
I never had a Sega.
What about you, Les? Have you ever played Sonic 3D Blast?
I played the Saturn one. Yeah. Actually, I think I played Genesis one too in the Sonic Mega Collection, but the one I played the most was the Saturn one.
Nice. Yeah, because it was actually released for a ton of platforms. It was then re-released for the GameCube, the Switch, the PC, the PlayStation 2, the Mega Drive Genesis is what it kind of started out on, the Sega Saturn, and the Xbox 360.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's Sonic's kind of been doing that, right? Where they come out and, because I don't know if this is considered to be kind of a port if it comes out for like the Sega Genesis collection or whatever. I don't know if it's on there, but I wouldn't be that surprised.
Genesis version is, yeah.
Les, quick question. I don't ask every guest this, but we have a Sega Genesis game coming up, so I have to ask you: are you a Nintendo kid or a Sega Genesis kid? Sega or Nintendo?
Okay. I mean,
yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Come
I mean,
on.
I there are some Genesis games that I really, really like Shining Force, but overall, I grew up on Nintendo. I always have a soft spot for Nintendo. There was a period in which, I left Nintendo, like the GameCube era, where I was like not really on board, and I started gravitating to PlayStation and PlayStation 2, and I wanted all that edgier. Yeah, and
well, you mean after
just
Sega already died?
Yeah, after Sega already died, essentially.
Right.
Hey, dude, the Dreamcast was pretty good, to be fair. Dreamcast was all right. Yeah, I felt like I was one of my only friends that had one. Not a lot of people had them. I'd never had a Sega Saturn though. I only one friend I think that I had the Saturn. That thing was like, and then forget like systems like the 3DO or the Jaguar. Like nobody had those when I was a kid. Nobody had.
I have one friend who has a Jaguar, but he has it in his basement somewhere, and me and my other collector friend are like, please, you never do anything with it. Just give it to one of us.
Yeah, right. Yeah, did you know anybody when you were a kid that had it though?
No.
Yeah, it's like it's.
I never heard of it until I was like in my 20s. I didn't know about it until I was watching like Angry Video Game Nerd or something.
Right? Yeah, you see him take a dump in it or something like that.
I don't know what it is right now.
The Atari Jaguar.
Yeah.
It's bad, dude. Don't play it.
Okay.
Oh, we'll get to it maybe.
That was easy.
I don't know if you can emulate the Jaguar, but
emulate it.
I don't know. We emulate.
I don't think anyone's
everything.
ever bothered.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's true. Huh? There probably isn't an emulator made for it.
No one cared enough.
Right. So, all right, Les. So now we're looking for a what do you call it?
Recommendation.
There it is. That's the word. Recommendation. For a game to put on our master list. We ask every guest for one. It just needs to be from the era before the PS3, Xbox 360, and the Wii. What you got for us?
I apologize in advance because the game is known for being difficult.
Difficult's fine.
Okay. It's a game, once you get the hang of it, it's a lot of fun, and it got a lot of crap back in the day. God Hand on PS2.
Okay. This is a big, in the collecting world, this is a big title to get for your collection, right? It's one of the more expensive titles, is it not?
I think it is, actually. I don't know. I've had my copy since I got it at Walmart for $20.
Well,
but I've loved the game ever since. I think it's I don't know, it's like what, $60 or something. I don't know.
Is it?
I haven't looked it up in a long time.
I'm gonna look it up right now.
Oh, I'm scared.
It's more than 60.
It is a complete copy goes for $140. Loose price goes for $88, according to video game price charting. So it's not quite up to the Kwans and the those type of games for the PS2 that literally go for like thousands or at least multiple of hundreds of dollars for the PS2. But it's certainly up there. It's a pretty pricey game, but a lot of games now are just inherently super expensive now.
Yeah.
So would you relive this game, Yaiser? Would you tell somebody to relive Devil May Cry if they came up to you and said, hey, I've never played Devil May Cry before? Should I go out and purchase it, or should I find the means to play it, I guess?
Yeah, I think for sure. Yeah, I had a lot of fun playing this game.
Okay. What about you, Les? For somebody, let's say somebody who's never played games before, would you recommend it to them?
Someone who's never played games before, I'd tell them to try it, but on easy mode. Because if they never played games before, they're going to be looking at the controller, and this is a game you wouldn't have time to do that.
Yeah, maybe play Tetris first.
Right. Start them off with Mario or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would recommend the game. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. It was really easy to play, even though it got hard. You lose, but most of the time you're like, oh, I'll just try it again. You didn't. There were even frustrating camera situations. You'd just be like, oh, let's give it another shot. This is fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I think I definitely recommend if you haven't played this game that you should go and do that. And I put out a little. I put out like a thing on our YouTube community page because apparently we have one of those now where I can put out a poll and say, hey, we're playing Devil May Cry this week. Did you guys like it? Yay, nay, or never played it? And 83% of people said that they loved the game, and only 17% said they'd never played it, and we got no no's. So I guess that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And I also put something out on Facebook, and overwhelming amount of people said that they really, really enjoyed the game. So yeah, I mean, pretty good, pretty good reviews, I guess, in general. The worst review that I got was from a guy or gal named Bombi on Facebook, and they said the story was okay in my opinion. Loved the game's atmosphere, and the combat was really fun and challenging. The only downside I could think of is the camera. It's so damn annoying. And so I mean that pretty much summed up our whole entire episode. So
wow, we could have just
seems unanimous
instead of doing this for 51 minutes.
yeah, roughly. No, but I mean I had a great time playing this game, and Yaiser, you have what? I think there's 23 missions in this game. You have about 7 or so to go. Do you think you're going to finish it?
I might, yeah. It's just so convenient fucking playing on my phone, man.
That's true.
Love that Razor Kishi.
Oh yeah. You didn't bring it, right?
I didn't bring it.
No. It is pretty cool. Not a sponsor, but
they should be.
They should be. That'd be pretty sick.
Yeah.
Les, you played this on original hardware, right? You didn't emulate or anything. Okay.
No, I played the HD collection mostly, but I put in the original Devil May Cry's copy for PS2 to kind of gauge it, because I know HD really washes a lot of details out in certain situations. Like sometimes age and grain kind of adds to things, and removing that kind of. So I decided to play the PS2 copy. Probably a couple missions in, honestly, just enough to kind of see if there's any real differences.
Yeah. And as far as gameplay went, because I have never played the HD, although I did look up some video and it does look nice. I thought it looked pretty nice. But I do agree with what you're saying, how it kind of because it's an old thing, maybe it should have just stayed old. And but that's fine. What did you think about the difference between the two? Was there a whole lot as far as gameplay went, or not really?
No, it felt the exact same, other than the PS4 controller. I'm not a huge fan, even though I'm a PlayStation person over Xbox. The controller for PS4 I'm not a big fan of. So when I was playing the PS2 copy, I was enjoying the controller a lot more, because the PS4 controller is cool with the touchscreen and everything, but it feels like I'm holding 2 dildos.
That's not what I was going to ask you about the PS4 controller, but I'm not that big into PlayStation. The last PlayStation console I owned was a PS2, actually. I skipped the PS3.
One that matters most.
Yeah, see? Okay, I'm glad you agree. I skipped the PS3 to get an Xbox 360. And since then, I kind of just stayed Xbox. And really, the only reason is because I enjoy Halo that much that I could only afford to buy one console on my own. So I was heavily driven towards Halo. And the other games that my friends played online were Call of Duty anyway, and that's multi-platform. So I was just like, I'll just go get an Xbox then. Also, the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One controllers are my favorite controllers of all time. I feel like they're so comfortable. Was the PS4 controller the one where the R2 and L2 like your fingers kept slipping off of them because they didn't push down far, right? Or am I thinking of a different controller?
There was travel
on the. I mean, the PS4 controllers, L2 and R2 kind of have like a curvature in them, so you don't really slip off more. Yeah, PS3 definitely had that problem.
Maybe that's what I was
the one that
thinking
looked
of.
a lot more like PS1 and 2, but it still had the curvature of an L2, R2 of PS1 and 2. So, but it was doing the trigger thing. So oftentimes you'll pull the trigger and it'll snap. It'll go click because your finger will slide off the end and it'll snap the button out.
That's what I was thinking of, and I obviously I don't have a PS. I never had a PS4, and I don't have a PS5. Do you have all modern systems right now?
I don't have the PS5 or the Series X, but I have Xbox One, PS4, and Switch.
Nice.
So I do have all the as of a couple of years ago, all the modern ones.
Right. Yeah, of course. And of those three, which one do you say do you think that you play the most?
It's probably that's tough. It's between the PS4 and the Switch, but I'd probably say the Switch.
Yeah.
Just because it has so much to offer in it. While PS4, I'll play a disc-based game for a few hours a week, but Switch, I feel like I pick it up more than I acknowledge that I do.
Is it easier because you can remove it from the dock and just play it? You know what I mean? Like handheld?
Oh, it's so nice.
That and just the games. There's a lot of short-term games. With PS4, I feel like I have to clear schedule out, or I got to tell people, hey, I'm busy today. But with a Switch, I'll just be like, let's play some Mario. Let's play some Smash Bros. Let's play, Octopath Traveler for a couple hours or something.
Yeah. No, and that's definitely more the speed of gamer that I am too, where, to me picking up a game right now, it's not really plausible to sit down and experience something like like a Dark Souls or an Elden Ring. Yeah. Like I can't really do that right now. So I tend to go for my Switch, where I have Donkey Kong Country, or or I'll play Mario Odyssey for a little bit, for a few hours, with my daughter or something, you know what I mean? Or Luigi's Mansion or something like that. But yeah, for the most part, I agree with you. It's basically you have to carve out a schedule to be able to play all these games. Like one of my best friends, he only plays one player epic adventure type of games. And I'm like, dude, I don't know how you do it. He beat Elden Ring, the first couple days? Yeah, it was out.
Yeah.
He was 100 hours deep into it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know how many days is 100 hours? That's how many days he got there. You know what I mean? It was crazy.
4 days, over 4 days.
No sleep, crazy. No food. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's nuts. I mean, I can't do it. Even if I wanted to do it, I don't think I could handle the overload of playing a game, the same game, for that long.
That game is so good though.
I know. I've heard. Have you played that, Les?
Elden Ring?
Yeah. No.
Oh,
but no. I have binged even though I have trouble clearing schedule out for games. There are times when I'll put a game in and I'm like, no, I got to finish it. Breath of the Wild's one of the games where it's I'm going to be playing this for the next month, I guess. Every day I get home from work, all right, fired up.
Yeah.
You know what's weird about stuff Breath of the Wild? For me, Breath of the Wild, I played so much, and I got to the point where I could go to the castle and fight Ganondorf. I just never went and did it. And I stopped playing. Dude,
that's such a me move. What are you doing?
I don't know.
Go finish it.
I got the Master Sword.
I did that in Final Fantasy VII. I got to Sephiroth and I tried to fight him, and I'm like, dude, I don't think I'm strong enough. And I got to the point where you can save, I saved inside the cavern where I am, so I can't even leave now. So that save file is just done. If I ever go back and play that, it's going to be from a new save.
You could go see what the fight's like. For
I fought him. I lose. I don't think I'm strong enough, and I'm just you know what? F it, man. I'm done.
Yeah, I don't know what it was about Breath of the Wild. I just didn't want to go.
Maybe you were just enjoying it so much that you just didn't want it to end.
Yeah, there's a couple things I didn't like about it, but that game was pretty awesome.
I've done that with so many games. I still haven't finished Arkham Knight because I know I'm near the end, and then I put it on the shelf, and then I move on to other games. It's I never finished that game because people talk about the ending to Arkham Knight, and they're like, "Can you believe that?" And I'll be like, "I didn't know. I didn't finish it yet." And they're like, "Well, you knew all the way up to there." And I'm like, "Yeah, I just kind of stopped playing. I wasn't ready to finish because I wanted to get all the Riddler trophies, and then it was overwhelming. And I said, I'm done playing it now."
It's funny you say that, actually, because my buddy I was talking about, he finished that game, and he called me after he was done. He goes, dude, he's like, I just finished Arkham Knight. He goes, I think it's the saddest I've ever been that I finished a game.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. See, there we go. And if I put it on the shelf, I'll be happy forever.
He's like, I want there to be more to this game so badly. He's like, and they're just, I'm done with it. But yeah, and like when it comes to like 100%ing games, I never know how to go about it because I always want to 100% a game. Like if we're talking about like Yoshi's Woolly World or whatever, right? Like one of the newer like Yoshi games where you can collect all the yarn pieces and unlock like a new Yoshi like every single level or whatever. My wife's wicked good at like she'll get through the entire game and then go back and 100% it. She's done that with Rayman twice. The Rayman games. She did it once for the Wii U and then she did it again for the same game for the Switch. But she loves that game. But anyway, I can't do it for whatever reason. I have to feel like I'm 100%ing it every level I go, and then I end up like draining myself, like where I'm just like because I'll play the same level like 3 times in a row to try and 100% it, and then I won't go back. Like I'll just stop and I'll be done, and I end up I'm the worst. I got some issues I'm working on.
I feel that though because it's like I can't 100% it. I got to retry. I can't 100% it. Well, then I'll stop here.
Yeah, and then you don't go back.
100% that part. I'm not resuming until I 100% this part.
Yeah. And I think my wife's got it down where like you just go through the game and then if you still want to play, go back and 100% it. But I don't know, it's tough. I want 100% it as I go.
No, not for the first. No,
I don't know, buddy.
I think she's got it right.
I mean, she must, right? Because she's done it twice. I haven't been able to finish a game yet, so she must have figured it out. I don't know. I can't do it though.
We finished Wild Guns.
No, we didn't.
You did though.
I did.
We did it.
We
separately,
did it separately, but we
together.
didn't beat it together. Have you ever played that game, Les? Wild Guns.
No, I never played it.
That's a great one. If I were to recommend any game that was so far that we've played on our podcast, that's way back season 1, episode 2.
I think it might have been episode 2.
I think it's episode 2, Wild Guns for the Super Nintendo. It's so good. It's a very short game. It's like an arcade shoot 'em up. Well, it's not really a shmup, but it's like a shooting gallery game, I guess. Because
you move the character at like the bottom of the screen and you have the aim reticle, right?
Yep. But the screen doesn't move. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Guys pop out windows and stuff, and you move the reticle. Because I've seen gameplay of it, I just never played it myself.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's a good. If we're talking about goods, that's a good one.
That's a good.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. But all right, we got on Tangent City there towards the end. But check us out next week. We will be playing Sonic 3D Blast for the Sega Genesis, and we will be having our good friend DMC back. And if you're watching this on Monday, you missed his Silent Hill playthrough. I was going to say he's streaming right now, but you're not watching right now. This isn't live. So I don't know why I brought that up. But anyway, DMC will be back with us next week to talk about Sonic 3D Blast. And Les, do you want to go ahead and tell the people one last time where they can find you?
Yeah. I have Instagram. I believe it's Les Dilemma on Instagram. I do TikToks under Les Dewitt, all one word. And yes, that's my real name. Everybody thinks it's a pun. Nope, I was born that way.
I just got it. It just clicked.
Yeah, everyone thinks it's just my screen name, but nope, my screen name was Les Dilemma, which is my Instagram. Might have changed it actually. I don't remember. So it's either Les Dewitt or Les Dilemma. But my TikTok, where most of my content goes, is Les Dewitt, all one word.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on, and everybody go check out him on Instagram and check him out on TikTok as well.
Definitely.
Thank you for having me, man.
Of course. We'll see you guys next week.
Peace.